Alright, well, Kshama Sawant introduced Bernie Sanders at his latest rally, and she had some strange words for those of us who think a little bit about things. She had said that we need a powerful socialist movement to end all capitalist oppression and exploitation. Now, first and foremost, does it even dawn on someone like this that they sound very odd saying things like this when they support someone like Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders, who outright admits that taxes will be increased, probably on everybody, but at the very least, definitely on anyone who makes over $29,000 a year. And not only this, Bernie Sanders has said we have to raise individual tax substantially higher than what it is today. I mean, what a joke, as if we're not taxed to death enough already. But the point here is this lady introducing Bernie Sanders said we need a powerful socialist movement to end all capitalist oppression and exploitation. What could possibly be more exploitative than the government? It is beyond me how someone like this cannot figure out that she herself is advocating for the most exploitative practice that exists, as far as I can tell. If there is any exploitation going on, it is not coming from the person who builds a business, takes on a gigantic amount of risk, takes on a huge amount of debt, invests in capital, and someday maybe hires you. The exploitation is clearly coming from the government, who says both to you and that employer you have that, hey, we're taking 20% of your income. That means that every week you work for free on Monday. You don't get paid for 1 day a week for the rest of your life because we want our cut. We've got countries to bomb, which, by the way, Sanders has been in support of some of that nonsense, too. We've got a failed war on drugs to fund. We have the alphabet soup agencies to fund. We've got to fund a failed war on poverty. We've got to throw more money into the Department of Education, despite its abject failure, even with an ever-increasing amount of money going into it. And we have an army of bureaucrats whose salaries we need to pay for. And if you don't like it and you don't want to pay for it, well, here's a gun to your head and handcuffs on your wrist. That is the real, actual exploitation. That is the real oppression. But people like this, who support Bernie Sanders, would have you believe that someone who built something and hired you to just help out, they are your true oppressors. It's quite beyond belief that anyone could buy into this, but I think the only reason why people do buy into this is because, as obvious as it is that the government is the biggest pickpocketer in all of history, it will still promise you shiny new things while it roots around in your wallet. It gives you the promise that you no longer have to worry about anything. They'll take care of all of it. Well, that utopia sounds great, but how many utterly horrific failures does the government need to be in charge of before people like this maybe scratch their head and wonder if they're headed down the wrong path? Everything the government touches turns to dog excrement and gets more expensive. They don't have to care one iota about making ends meet. They're not using their own money, so they don't care. There is no way they can get out in front of a perpetually shifting and changing societal landscape, so they will fail when they attempt to take nearly everything over for 300 plus million people. I mean, for God's sake, big businesses and corporations fail all the time at just surviving in one specific industry, not having to take into consideration hundreds of millions of people, and they're dealing with their own money and their own resources, so they have a vastly larger amount of motivation to make the right moves. They do not have the luxury to act as government does and be reckless and careless as government is on a consistent, nauseating basis. So even with that, they fail sometimes. You think the government is going to be able to implement a massive takeover of industry and not have it implode directly in everyone's faces? If you really believe that, then I must say that is a frightening level of ignorance. But that is all for now. Like, subscribe, share, and take it easy.